moved to New Zealand 6.5 years ago. But yeah, it was scary. My first drive from Auckland with my new bought car to Hamilton. It's scary. Since they always say, eh? So it's good, eh? Oh, what are you up to? Oh, yeah, fine. Yeah, that's right, eh? Everyone cried back home when they dropped me at the airport and said goodbye. And I was just so excited. I was like, oh my God.
How did you end it in New Zealand? Walking barefoot in supermarkets. Welcome to Expat Experts. Today's guest is Hanna Marks, someone who swapped microscopes for an adventure. Born near Berlin and once deep into the world of honeybee research, she left her stable lab job for the unknown. After a solo trip to New York sparked her confidence, she packed up and moved across the world on a working holiday visa to New Zealand. In this episode, we will explore how she transformed from a shy introvert into a bold expat, living and working abroad with courage and curiosity. We'll play cultural games, laugh while discovering Kiwi slang, and hear about the emotional ups and downs of life so far away from home. So sit back, relax, and let's explore this expat experience together. So, Hanna, welcome. Finally, we are doing the episode the other way around. Welcome to Expat Experts.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
My pleasure. So yeah, we already know each other from your podcast, so that's already an advantage in this interview. I know you a little bit, let's say, but maybe for the listeners more than for me, where are you originally from, and what do you call now home? And let's start from the beginning and what brought you to where you live now.
Right. So I'm Johanna, but everyone calls me Hanna. And I am from Germany, a small town near Berlin. It's called Neustrelitz, but no one really knows that. So I usually just say it's near the biggest city close to it is Berlin. And I moved to New Zealand 6.5 years ago and live in Hamilton, which is on the North Island, and haven't really moved around outside of the city. So I move around heaps within that city, but I haven't been moving lots within New Zealand. Yeah.
Nice. So you grow up in a small town near Berlin, and how was your life there? Like before leaving, were you working already? It was like
Right. Yeah. So I grew up, because it was such a small town, we kind of grew up there knowing that we will go to school there for the whole time. And then it's pretty much spreading out because you don't have a university. You don't really have many job opportunities. So we all kind of went to school knowing, okay, afterwards we just probably move to a bigger city or wherever we can actually get our education from. And even though I went to the gymnasium, which is like the highest school for university entrance, because of our system, how it works with uni, you sometimes have to wait a little bit to get a seat, kind of, because it's free-ish. So you have low study costs. Therefore, a lot of people can get into it, but then courses are filling up. So it's more like a grade-based system. And I just had to wait a little bit. And I was thinking of studying marine biology because I found that really interesting.
Cool.
But I ended up, because I would have to wait. And my mom was always like, nah, we are not sitting around. We are not waiting for anything. You are using that time useful. And so I went to Berlin to do a vocational training, which was in chemistry and biology. So it was pretty much then moving around, getting education. And then I decided that I'm rather working after my vocational training and not go to uni first, which I guess once you start working, it's really hard to make that decision to go back to uni. So I just found a job after that in another small-ish town, which is in the north at the Baltic Sea. It's called
Mhm.
Greifswald. But it has a university as well. So even though it's small, it has quite a lot of young people, which is quite
Mm.
nice. And me coming from a small town, I felt really comfortable in another small town. And it was just like 1.5 hours away from my hometown as well. So I could visit my family and go back and forth for the weekend. So that really suited my lifestyle. And my first job was on actually an island. So
Oh,
it's
nice.
like a
You go
research
from
island.
island.
Exactly. I
Okay.
jump islands, island hopping.
Very big
Uh,
hop, but yeah.
yeah, I just hopped from one big ocean to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my first job was then on this island, which is like a research institution, which I think it has been used even through the time of World Wars and stuff, like a big, yeah, it's just a massive building which covers almost the whole island. It's called Insel Riems
Mhm.
and has the Friedrich Loeffler Institute, and they do a lot with animal health. So everything that is like dangerous for humans, but also dangerous for animals, um, will be researched over there, which is really interesting. So that was kind of my life over there.
Nice. I've actually listened to the first episode of your podcast because it was helpful for research because you describe yourself, you explain a little bit your story, and
Right. Yeah.
you say something that it catches my attention because a lot of the people who I interview like had this dream of living abroad, either because their parents traveled a lot or because they lived as a child abroad or because they are extroverts like me that can be put in a place for more than X years. But you describe yourself as a shy person who was not that comfortable with traveling alone. Actually, what changed there? To leaving your comfort, your job at that time, no, like you
Yeah.
even have the job that you like. So how did you end doing the big decision of leaving and going abroad?
I think I was so shy and not really confident. So it's kind of when you realize that everyone else around you, or not everyone, but a lot of people did like a gap year after school or between school and university and just traveled or had that overseas experience, even though it wasn't everyone, maybe out of my group of people, 5, 6 people, but I would describe them as quite confident and kind of knowing what they want. And for me, I was just shy, anxious. I did not really think I would be able to do any of this. And it didn't even cross my mind that that's what I wanted to do. So I was like, oh, yeah, you guys, cool that you do that. I'm so proud of you. Like, I would be really afraid. So never really thought of that. But because my parents started traveling with us as well, I realized how much I loved just the differences between countries. I love to go to places that had a very different vegetation, like plants and
Mm.
different architecture and different climate. And so I really, really loved going abroad, seeing all of the differences and enjoying the heat. Usually I'm more of a heat person, so I would go on summer holidays to Greece, by the way.
Nice.
So that was our first big holiday as a family because before we just wanted to save money for a house. So our holidays before that were more like Baltic Sea or Austria, which is a bit closer.
Not
So
definitely hot, that's for sure.
not that hot, no. And therefore it became more of a great feeling and this excitement, when you jump on a plane and then it's accelerating and it goes up in the air. And for you as a younger, like we were teens at that time, it's super exciting. And I was so keen on waking up early in the morning to go to the airports and just all of that really, I felt really hyped up and I just felt great. So I was like, of course we go. And funny enough, even though I was super shy, I never wanted to be on holiday only with my parents and my brother. I was like, you guys are cool, but I kind of want to make new friends. And because I was shy, that sounds really creepy, but I did that every time when we went on holiday. So we sat on the airport and I already looked around. Are there any maybe girls in my age with their family that I could potentially become friends with? Then I would check out who was on the flight and who then goes into the same bus at the destination. Then it's a higher chance that person might be even in my hotel, right?
Mm.
So then once the bus is dropped off the people, I would look at who is actually getting out at the same hotel. And then I would think, oh, maybe this girl would be nice because, she arrived at the same time. She didn't know anyone as well, is here with her family. And I just started kind of checking out who I would like to kind of make contact and become friends with, which I know sounds interesting, but I just loved that. And
Nice.
so we would sometimes join these weird clubs where they have entertainment for teens and stuff.
Mm.
And then I would force myself, even though I would not feel comfortable, like I would be anxious and I would be really nervous, but I would force myself to go out of my way to say hi, to meet them. And then I would become friends with people there. And then the holiday was just always amazing. So that's kind of how that whole holiday feeling traveling started. And then later on, I just got older, did more traveling with my friends, and just realized it's so cool to be overseas, to talk to people over there, to improve my English, to make new friends overseas, like locals from Dublin or New York. So I was just so happy to be able to connect to people. And because you do it one by one, not all at once, I kind of overcame my shyness. I did a lot of work on myself as well to overcome that shyness or to trick myself into it, I would say. And at one point, even my boss at that time told me all these crazy stories about how he did his studies in South Africa, how he went to all these amazing places around the world, backpacking, lots of Asia. And I just thought, oh my God, that sounds so cool. Like such an adventure. And you go out and you experience all of this. And I was like, I don't know, this feeling of I need to get out. I need to do
Mm.
that. I need to get out of my comfort zone and just really push through. It just slowly grew. And I remember one of my friends who was younger than me, and I thought she was shy too. She was like, okay, I go to New York and do like a year abroad and work with kids with special needs and autism. And I thought, like, how cool. And somehow inside, I was like, if she can do it, I can do it. Yeah.
Cool. Very nice. I mean, it's always a. I mean, even if you are an extrovert, actually going abroad, it's always overcoming some fears and
Oh, yeah,
losing
100%. Yeah.
losing contact, losing the stable ground that you're living in. It's always scary. I did it 3 4 times already. So
Yeah. You're
every
an
time I'm changing
expert.
country, yes, unfortunately. So the biggest question, New Zealand, why? Like it's not the first choice that I would
Yeah.
think coming from a small town in Germany, and actually it's not even one of the destinations that you said that you traveled before. So how
No.
did you end it in New Zealand?
I think it was really a mix of a lot of things, or a few things. One of my colleagues actually told me about New Zealand, and I have to admit, I didn't think much of New Zealand before. I was like, well, I want to have an overseas experience. So, what might be coming in handy? I thought about New York because I've been traveling there a couple of times and I really liked it. Boston was really nice too. And I thought it has all these high end universities around. So it probably has a lot of research. And where else did I apply for? Switzerland, Austria. And I just thought, okay, it doesn't have to be one country. It can be one country where I can feel myself living in. And one of my
Mhm.
friends also had an opportunity to go to Miami and said, okay, because we have learned the same thing. She was like, why don't you come with me and work for me? I was like, that would be super cool. And another friend had her cousin being a doctor in Australia, and he was in research and was like, oh, yeah, maybe we can set something up here. So there were a few options which, yeah, I was just interested in, and we would connect. But then they slowly fell through, and I was like, okay, it's not meant to be, right? So something will come up. And then my friend at work was like, you know what? I think New Zealand is my favorite country. It has everything. It has mountains, it has beaches, it has like a jungle type of thing. It has normal places, cities, and I was like, oh, I never really thought much about New Zealand at all. And I didn't knew much about it, but I just thought I'd check out if they have jobs in my field, right? So I just Googled a bit and saw they have quite a lot of technician jobs in my field in Hamilton.
Okay.
And I was like, well, might as well send some more application, right? So I actually also did Google Maps and then the satellite. And then I just checked out how the houses look like, how the areas look like, if I could picture myself being there. And it felt kind of all right. And I was like, let's see. And I never heard anything back from most of the applications because I didn't have a visa for any of those countries.
Mhm.
So they must have seen it. I ticked no visa and they must have been like in the bin.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Happens with visa
unfortunately.
process. Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
normal. It's this circle of like you need a visa to work and you need to have a job contract to get a visa, and it's always this circle of like
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
either they
It's,
sponsor you to the for the visa, or it's very difficult to get,
yeah.
or you take the leap and you go there in a holiday visa and then try to solve things out, which is also kind of common.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, which that was in the end what happened to me. But funny enough, I applied for a job which was exactly what I was doing as well. I was working 7 years by then in the research lab for bee health or bee diseases, and they looked for someone in the genomics field for working with honey and certain bee disease. And there was one particular one which is called American foul brood, and I've been working with it for 7 years. So I was like the perfect candidate. And even though I didn't have a visa or I wasn't even in the country, they still contacted me and gave me an interview.
Hmm.
And that's how the whole idea of New Zealand became a little bit more vivid, I guess. And even though I didn't get the job because they needed someone immediately, but also they needed me to have a visa to be even allowed to be in the country and work there. So I was like, unfortunately, I haven't sorted out my life back home yet. I still have a job, I still have a flat, I still have all of this. But I told myself I would stay in touch with the company, which I did. And nothing really works out with the job, but I might as well just go for a working holiday visa because at that time it was really easy to get. And I think I got it after 2 weeks of applying for it. So, and as you said,
Nice.
that's what I did. I went over with the working holiday visa. I met the people from the company. They really wanted me to work there. And it was such great coincidence because the person who got the role at the time of my interview before, she got pregnant and had to leave on maternity leave.
Okay. So you step
So
in that moment. Nice.
yeah, I was like, here I am.
And now I'm
Yeah,
here actually physically. So that's, oh yeah, I mean,
exactly.
a lot of the times, to be honest, it happens by coincidence. Like a lot of things in life happens because you're in the
Yeah,
correct place at the correct time, and that's it. No, nothing else.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you how it is for someone from a small town in Germany to suddenly land in New Zealand, which is very far away at the end. No, I mean, it must be challenging. What was the first impression that you had in the island when you arrived in the first weeks?
I would say because I was also keen on traveling around. So I set myself up on potentially I only go for a year and travel around and do like woofing, which is like on the farm and they give you accommodation and food and you work for them and help out, or to do like kiwi fruit picking or whatever, like a proper backpacker. I had my big backpack and that literally had all I needed. But I put a few more professional clothes inside just in case I actually have a proper job interview or something like that. And I told myself, and it's like 1 year of doing that traveling, or I actually find a job and then somehow stay longer. So I extended my health insurance for, I think, 3 years, I said, just in
Mm.
case. And I came with a traveler mindset. And I remember I was so excited. Everyone cried back home when they dropped me at the airport and said goodbye. And I was just so excited. I was like, oh my God, that is such a great opportunity. And because I resigned from my job and I had no flat or apartment anymore, I felt so free. That was probably the best feeling I've ever had in my life. And then I remember arriving at Auckland Airport. And again, I did what I did best all these years when I went overseas with my parents. I already checked out people at the plane and I met not a couple, but a guy and a girl that traveled together from Germany to New Zealand.
Mm.
And we just started talking and we had a long flight. So we talked a lot and kind of they were my first friends. So I felt already not alone. And I just checked into a really nice hostel. And the people there were really open, and I was open and friendly and tried to make new friends because I was all of a sudden by myself.
Yeah.
And I met two other guys from Germany at that hostel, and we all just decided to travel around together for, I think, the first 3 months ish. So that was my whole mindset of I explore this country now. But 1 week after arriving, I already had that conversation with the company, and they already said, we want you. You can go and travel New Zealand first, but we want you to be back and please work for
Mm.
us. And we want your experience. And it was
Cool.
just perfect. I've never had such a really smooth transition. So I knew after the first week, okay, I can travel now for 3 months and then I have a job. So that was just perfect.
It's very nice because it gives you a lot of security, like you're traveling and you
Yeah.
know that you go back to safe. That's nice.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the biggest challenge that you find that you didn't expect? The moment that you realize, because until now it's very fairy tale. It's still the
Yeah.
excitement of the moment. When it's the moment that you say, "Okay, wow, I'm really far away from home," like,
Yeah. I think traveling with the guys was great. They were really good company and really friendly and took care of me in a way. But with one of them, sometimes there were some issues and he would be a bit rude and like just difficult to deal with. That was the first time where I felt like, okay, my confidence drops a little bit, when you deal with someone who's constantly being rude and you just feel uncomfortable. I was like, oh, okay, so how do I deal with that? Do I face it? Do I say something? Do I let it slip because it's just 3 months? That was a bit weird because I could feel like all this excitement slowly goes away. But traveling was still great with them. So once we finished, I actually went always back to the same hostel in Auckland. It became like my base. And just before I had to start my job, I then went to Hamilton. So I bought a car by myself, which was scary because it's like you just go there and sign a paper, give money, and then the car's yours. It's a little bit more, but it's not as difficult as back home in Germany.
But you drive in the
So
other side of the road, so that's that's another story.
exactly. Yeah. So I when I traveled with the guys, we had a rental car.
Okay.
And I drove a few times already just to get used to it. And because on the South Island, there are so much less people that you have less traffic. So it was perfect for me to practice a little bit. But yeah, it was scary. My first drive from Auckland with my new bought car to Hamilton, scary. I was nervous. I was driving and I was like, oh my God, please let everything be all right. Yeah. And I can say the difficult part are roundabouts and intersections. That was tricky because you kind of you want
To
to
go the
go
other
to the
way
wrong
around.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but once I came over, so what actually was challenging, I booked a flat there, which is more like a shared space. Like, yeah, you have multiple people in one place.
Mhm.
You don't just have your own little apartment like I'm used to in Germany. When I first went there, it was a completely new townhouse unit. No one ever lived there before. I was the first one. And I haven't even seen that place before because I was in Auckland. So I booked in the viewing with the intention to move in right away. And that's really uncommon.
Mm.
But luckily, I liked it. And the agency or the person who looked after it as a property management person agreed that I could move in straight away. Otherwise, I would not have any place to go at that night. But I was like, I guess I figure it out.
You had a new car.
And I had a car. I could, that would be a bit scary. Yeah. So again, worked out really well. But I had a bit of issues with the money because of the bond. It was relatively high. I wasn't allowed to take that much money from the ATM at
Mm.
once. So I had to do it in 2 steps. That was a bit tricky. And then I was just in this empty room, in an empty unit for the very first time, just by myself after being surrounded by people constantly. And there was only a mattress. There was no cutlery in this house. Usually it says fully furnished, but it wasn't. It had the basics like a toaster. Or no, not even a toaster. No toaster, no cutlery, no pottery, no, not a kettle, just nothing really. And it had a mattress, but it didn't have any sheets or any blankets or duvets, just nothing. And that was the first time when it hit me. I was sitting in that room all by myself, completely overwhelmed, a bit lonely and lost. And I called my mom and I cried.
Yeah. Sounds
Yeah.
like. I mean,
Yeah.
it's far away. It's also not that you can solve it with, okay, I buy a ticket for next weekend and I will be home. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
work like
Nah.
that.
No, and it was never an option for me anyways. And I just signed up for that job that would, I think, start a week after that. So I was like, okay, I'm here now. Even though it's difficult and it's lonely and I feel awkward and I have to buy a whole lot of things that I didn't even know I need. And you need to think of it, right? Okay, you need toilet paper, you need even a toilet brush, you need towels, stuff that you usually already have.
Mm.
So I went to the warehouse and I had this massive wagon trolley full of stuff. And that was just absolutely awkward for me. I never had to do that before like that. Even moving apartments back home, I always had my parents to support me. So that was interesting. Yeah, but definitely my first feeling of loneliness and really challenged, overwhelmed. But in the end, again, everything is how they say, figure out a bit. And yeah, it's you find solutions, but it might be uncomfortable for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe the last question from these sections: how do you deal with being homesick or like missing stuff from home? Like, how do you stay connected?
Yeah, so I was still very excited also with a new job, new people, and my flatmates that shortly moved in as well were really, really nice. It was a French couple, and I'm still connected. They are so lovely. We became good friends, and my colleagues were really friendly. So I slowly started having friends also from hostels. They would come and visit me. That helped a lot to not be alone. I did make a lot of calls back home. Yeah, to check in, just to talk to my mom and dad and just in general to my friends. And my friends were so amazing. They actually, when I left, got all my friends to write a letter and spread it out over I don't know how many weeks, but I had probably 20 or so letters. And every weekend I was allowed to open one. So that got me through the first weeks of homesickness because they wrote something really nice and special. And that was really lovely. And for me, really making connections and new friends is for me the key to not be so homesick. But of course, there were moments when you were like, oh, okay, I'd rather have someone that already knows me really well. I remember my first heartbreak. I did not know most of the people that long yet. It was a few months in, and I really missed having someone who knows me for the past 15 years to comfort me, to give me a hug. So I was surrounded by nice people, but I wasn't that close to them yet. And I didn't want to be completely vulnerable and open my heart to just anybody. So I felt sometimes a bit isolated. And yeah, I think that was quite tough. So I made even more calls home. I cried at that time quite a bit. But again, for me, the key is to be open to let other people in and to open up and to actually say, hey, do you want to hang out? Hey, I actually feel lonely, or I'm actually sad right now, or those things I'm really an advocate for. Just be vulnerable and open because then empathy, most of us have it, and you will connect to the people so much more. And once you open up, they are more likely to open up as well. And then you build this connection, and then it feels a little bit less hard. But there's also a German restaurant in Auckland, and I have to say, at some times I just decided to go there and have some German food just to feel a little bit of comfort.
Oh gosh, the food comfort, it's always appearing. It's really interesting.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Not that German food is particularly amazing. It's like just
But it's home.
comforting, right?
It's home.
Yeah,
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 that's nice. So actually, you already give like kind of a hack or an advice in the sense of opening up. But I wanted to ask you if maybe a little bit more detailed one. What would you say to someone who is willing to move, for example, to New Zealand? A little bit your piece of advice. Let's say like this.
yeah. I think what I've learned, and yes, you're right, it's pretty much the same what I already said, but it is so important to make friends or to let people in. And even though I was still deep down shy and still am at times, or socially anxious, even, I was forcing myself to just be the first one to say hi, to be the first one to ask, how are you? and just to smile. I mean, I love smiling. I do it all the time, so that wasn't a big deal for me. But to actually be the one who is looking someone in the eyes and say, "Hey, I'm Hannah. Who are you?" And then just be the one who starts the conversation, because you can't expect everyone else to do it. And if you want to make connections, it's probably the best to just start it. And yeah, that's my advice. Smile, because people who are open as well feel so much more like that you're approachable. It helps a lot, because when I was too shy, I just smiled and people would come naturally towards me and talk to me. And that helped me a lot. And now I'm just the same pretty much, but now I'm smiling and talking. So that's my advice. Just be the first one to talk as well, so that you can just open up and make new friends, because that's really important.
Nice. Perfect. Right. So I would say that we just jump to a little bit of the cultural deep dive.
Hey there, everyone. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. Remember that the best way to stay tuned with the latest episodes of the podcast is by clicking on subscribe in YouTube and in your favorite audio platform. For extra content and information, follow, like, and comment on our social media and visit our website, expatexpertspodcast.com. Thank you for supporting our podcast, and let's continue with the episode.
So I prepared a little bit of like mini games, or I call them mini games, although it's just like
Yay!
a little bit of like trying to get your perspective on the cultural life of New Zealand and what you experience, what not, like what do you know, a little bit of slang also. So the first game that I wanted to play, it was like, I call it culture shock or no. Basically, I will read a statement of stereotypes, majority of them probably,
Yeah, yeah.
that are from the island, and if it's really give you a cultural shock, or you didn't experience it at all, or it wasn't a big deal for you.
Yeah.
The first one that I have, it's people walking barefoot in supermarkets.
Um, I have to say I found it weird. It wasn't a massive shock, but I'm just so not used to walking barefoot back at home. And you would think it's just a certain type of people that would do it, but no, it's really a Kiwi way of living. And I have a good friend who is a great person, and he just really prefers it to walk barefoot, and he would go barefoot in the supermarket. So I found it weird, because I wouldn't do it. And I just always, you get it so into your mind that it's dirty and you never know what you stepped into. So
Hmm.
I'm just not really used to that. And also, I have to say, my skin on my feet are just also not used to. So I'm like a little wuss when it comes to walking barefoot. If there's a stone or something pokey, I would be like, oh my God, it hurts. So I think they are more used to it, so it doesn't hurt as much. But that was interesting. I wouldn't say I was shocked, but I was more like wondering, why would you want that?
Makes sense. The second one that I have, it's strangers smiling and talking to you in public spaces.
I have to say that's absolutely up my alley. I love that. And my friends always say I got kicked out of Germany because I was too friendly. And I wouldn't mind that. But I have to say, not everyone, like there are strangers and strangers here as well.
Hmm.
There are some random ones, or if certain personas that might have taken some drugs or whatever start talking to you, you try to be alert and just careful. So you naturally walk a bit away from it. But if it's just randomly in the supermarket or whatever, like I love people being friendly. So I'm not necessarily finding it awkward. And because I grew up in a small town and then we moved to a small village next to the small town, that's just kind of what I feel most comfortable with, because I walk around and smile and would say hi to people if they say hi. So that whole village vibe is actually really nice for me. So no culture shock at all.
Nice. Uh, Workplaces where people leave at 4 p.m. and really mean it. Like at 4 p.m., everyone goes out.
It's so funny because, well, my current job is 4:30, so 8 to 4:30, but most of the time, touch wood, most of the time we finish on time and everyone is just out. But I also have been at a workplace where I did a lot of overtime, and I was in a position where I felt really responsible for the team because I was a team leader. So for me, I just wanted to make sure that everything is sorted for the next day, that I'm available for everyone who had different hours. And and I feel like all the people in that company were working really, really hard. Yes, you had the people who finished on time and left, which was great, but not every place is like that. So I have experienced both. And I mean, it's great if people take work life balance so serious and actually have a more balanced life and feel like more healthy and happy, then why not, right? So,
Hmm. I don't know if this is true or not, but drinking from the tap without even having second thoughts, tap water.
yes, yes. Which funny that you say that because it's so normal for me now that I don't even think of it at all. Like you said, not a second thought whatsoever. Um, but you're right. Usually, when I come from Germany and I travel to another country, we never drink tap water. And when my friends came just a year ago to visit me over Easter, they were like, "Oh, we don't really like the tap water. It tastes like chloride and stuff." I can't taste it anymore. So,
You get used to it. I mean, it's not so
yeah,
much of a different probably from Germany because I lived there also, was also drinking tap
yeah,
water in Germany, but it's different. It's a difficult thing to do in a new country, no? Like, I don't know, you don't go
yeah,
to Mexico and start drinking from the tap, like out
yeah.
of.
No way. But also, even in Germany, I wasn't drinking tap water. I was buying water off the bottle, you know?
Mm,
So it's just now I feel like it's weird to go back home and buy water in a bottle. I'm like, why? If you can drink it from the tap, it's right there, it's free, you know?
mm.
So, but of course, you should make sure that it's like filtered and all of that.
Yes, that would be ideal. And the last one that I have for this one, it's a little bit funny, but seeing more sheep than people during road trips.
Yeah, yeah. Especially on the South Island, definitely. You drive sometimes and you don't see a human at all, but a lot of sheep and a lot of cows. Yeah, a lot. That's New Zealand for you. Yeah. And it's, I don't know if if it ever was a culture shock. I don't think so. I think I really enjoyed that countryside feeling because it reminded me a bit on home as well, I think. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Then I would say we jump to the second one that I prepared, and I call it German lab versus expat job. And basically, I would describe a situation, and you can tell me if it's more typical for a German lab or for any of the expat jobs that you have ever abroad, or if you think that it doesn't fit neither one
Yeah.
or the other.
Cool.
Um, you show up exactly on time and everyone is already there for 10 minutes before you.
Huh. Wouldn't happen in New Zealand. No, they are not. They are really chill with their time, I would say. So for me, I still am on German time. So if I am on time, that means I'm 10 minutes early. So I don't think most people would be there before me. In Germany, it's because it was normal for me to show up 10 minutes early at least. I think I would be there with most people at the same time. But yeah, New Zealand, yeah, no, you
Not a
wouldn't
rhythm.
necessarily have, no. no one shows up before you.
I mean, funny enough, I have a German girlfriend, and she says that I'm the German when it comes to time wise, because I'm also that person that arrives 10 minutes early to everywhere. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
I do enjoy that. Yeah.
me too. Second one, a full group meeting ends in a beach swim.
Oh, sorry. What was that? I didn't quite catch it.
A meeting of a group at work might end going to the beach.
Oh, will definitely not happen back in Germany. It hasn't happened yet in New Zealand, but I can see, not necessarily in my job, I would say.
Hmm.
Not in my job. But in other jobs here in New Zealand, I could totally imagine it's, or maybe even having that meeting at the beach, being like, you know what, today we go out. I definitely had meetings outside just or to walk around. We at one point started scheduling meetings outside and walk around while talking just to get a little bit of movement and fresh air. So definitely see that in New Zealand. Yeah,
Nice. The workplace lets you call your boss for the first name from day one.
definitely New Zealand. Always 100%.
Yeah, cool.
Everyone is always with your first name. I've never come across anyone who introduced themselves with their surname ever, while it's really common back home. But my first job back home, most people also introduced themselves with the first name. But it's not as common, I would say. Definitely in New Zealand, it's a thing everywhere. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, I feel like here in Mediterranean countries, at least, like people tends to always go by first name. When I
Yeah.
work in Germany, I find it now majority of people always presented by first name, but those one who had titles. This title obsession of Germany, it's
Oh,
incredible. Like
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
doctor, whatever, like
Yeah.
Frau Doctor, and it's what?
Yeah, I think that's true because I took it with me. Not that I ever had a title, but I remember at my job, I really wanted to grow into a new position. And I remember this obsession about, but I need this title. Like, I need to, have something for my CV. I need to have this
Mm,
name on it for my own country. If I ever go back, they need to see that name on it. And they were like, but why do you need that name? But I was like, it's just really that obsession with like title
mm.
and position names and whatever. Yeah.
Nice. The next one it's efficiency. Between means getting the job done, even if the method is chaotic.
um, yeah. So I feel like everyone, specifically in a lab, everyone is trying to work based off SOPs. So procedures that can't be changed because this is written exactly the same way. You have standards, you have auditors coming to check if you're exactly following the process. There's not much space to be like, oh, whatever, I just come to a conclusion or to the results somehow. So I feel like in most labs that I have been working, it is very important to not just be like that. But I have to say, it depends on what department you are. If you're in a research department and you don't have to follow those processes yet because you establish them or you validate a new method, you have some more flexibility. And I have seen a few people who are like, oh, I don't necessarily need to do all of this and I might just jump to that. So it happened here, but I'm pretty sure it happened back home as well. Like especially in those places where it's just R&D and they just try to get to something or get a result or try something new. But otherwise, labs are pretty good with procedures and they are really strict. But in general, I think Germany is more efficient in a lot of aspects.
Hmm.
But that really depends on the job and the career and yeah, all of that.
Cool. So yeah, we'll jump to the last game that I have for today, which I'm very looking forward. I call it Guess the Slang. So we will go a little bit into Kiwi, which is
Yeah.
funny at the same time, because I don't know if I will pronounce things as properly or not, but I got some words. I researched some words of Kiwi slang, so I would like to see if you know them, how many of them you know, and if I missed something that you
Mm.
find interesting, I would like to you to add any slang that you know at the end. So the first one that I have is chili bean.
Chili bin. For like the box that you use for drinks and cold ice and stuff. Is that what it is?
Yeah, the cooler
Yeah,
box, no, like the
yeah,
typical
a
blue
cooler
one
box.
with the white things on
Yes, to
the.
carry around at the beach. Yeah, I'm used to it now. Yeah, if people say chili bin, at least now I know what they're talking about. But yeah, before I don't know. But I also don't know how I would have called it a cooling box or like, I'm not sure. But yeah, it will be used here for sure.
Nice. Talks.
Holy, yes, tox. I had no idea what it was. No idea. It sounds a little bit like something in the kitchen. I felt like something like a tool, but it's swimwear, right? Swimsuits
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, which I did not get because I felt like, why can you not just say swimwear? Which they sometimes do, but everyone says tox, and I'm like, it took me a while to get used to that word. I'm still not using it though, ever.
Third one that I'd have, it's sweet ass.
Sweet as, yes. So a lot of people talk about it because it's this funny one. Because if you don't know how it's written or spelled, you
Yeah,
can
sounds bad.
sometimes think, yeah, it's like sweet as. Hi. But a friend warned me because she came to New Zealand before me, and she told me that that's really common. But also, it's like, yeah, used for everything, just literally. And I'm saying it now. Sometimes you even only say sweet.
Hmm.
If someone says, "Oh, yep, thanks for getting this done," or "Can you please do this?" you just say, "Yep, sweet," or "sweet as." And it's more like I was waiting for something else to come because you know how you have this comparison, S- as sweet as something else.
Mm.
And I was like, but what does it mean? Why do you use it? But no one can explain it to you why. They just know this is what's said. So it's a thing, but no one can really explain why.
Wob wobs.
And funny enough, wop wops. And then my American friend told me it's the same like saying out in the boonies. And I was like, what does that even mean? So out in the wop wops is pretty much just really countryside, far away. We have completely different sayings for that in German as well. Uh, but it's pretty much just a place that is far away from everything, really. Out
Middle of
nowhere.
nowhere. Yeah.
Exactly.
What about tour?
Sure. I'm not using it because I just don't really know how. They say it also in random moments like "Chur bro," "What's up, bro?" "Chur." It's like, okay, cool, yes, thanks, just whatever. They use it for everything, a little bit like sweet ass. And I'm just feeling awkward because it feels like, all these cool dudes are using it. And I'm like, it's not really me. So I'm just leaving it. So I'm not
It's
saying it, but I know it's
it's more
there.
a bro slang. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, I feel so. Yeah, I feel so.
What about dairy?
A dairy. Yeah, what would you have thought what it is when you wouldn't do your research?
That's the thing. Like, for me, it would be like it goes closer to having a diary where you write things down. But
Yeah, the dairy is pretty much just the shop around the corner, which is everywhere in every corner. And I think in German we would say Tante Emma Laden, which is like, this little store that's run
Mm.
by that old nice lady, and you buy your little sweets and this kind of stuff. So that's what it is. You get like convenience things like milk or cigarettes if you're a smoker, or like little things when a supermarket is too far away and it's just around the corner, pretty much.
So the kiosk without having all the walls full of beers.
Kiosk. Exactly. And less newspaper.
What about hips?
Oh, right. I use it heaps. I use it a lot, and that's pretty much what it means. Something that's just a lot, and I didn't know before. So when I first heard it, I wasn't sure how to use it. But, as soon as people around you use those words, you just implement it in your own vocabulary, and now it's just such a big part of mine. So, yeah, I use it heaps.
Nice. Have two more. The first one it's LMP.
Yeah, it's a weird thing here. Like, I'm not sure if you have the same feeling, but back home, I feel like Fanta was a really big thing, like Fanta
Mm-hmm.
Orange.
Yeah.
That was something I would have been drinking. Here, it's a lot of Coke, but also LMP. And LMP seems to be the fizzy drink number one. For whatever reason, I don't understand it. They even have, I think in Peru, if I'm not wrong,
Mm-hmm.
a big LMP bottle as a statue or something. So I think maybe that's where the production side is or something. But yeah,
LMP
it
means
seems,
lemon and pero. So
yeah. So yeah, they love
crazy.
it. It's their childhood drink, I guess.
Come on, when I arrived to Germany, the whole Fritz Cola and the Club Mate,
True.
it's something that we don't have anywhere else. So you also have these kind of things. It's just that you had it
Right.
from childhood and then.
That is so true. See, I didn't even notice. I thought it's around in other places too, but good that you say that because, yep, I'm well aware of Fritz Cola and Club Mate.
Club Mate, yeah, yeah. The last one that I have, it's tramping.
Is it just like going outdoors and camping type of
Yeah,
thing? Yeah.
hiking, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, hiking, tramping, being outdoors. Yeah, that's really common. I'm not really using it much. But yeah, hiking and being outdoors is such a culture here in New Zealand. So yeah.
Cool. I would leave the floor to you if you have any other one that come up to your mind, if you have any addition to the Kiwi slang.
One thing that is really, really common, and I do it here a lot too, and I haven't seen it in any other place yet. It's like at the end of the sentence, they always say "a." So it's good, eh? Oh, what are you up to? Oh, yeah, fine. Yeah, that's right, eh? Or are you doing all right? Is it good, eh? It's good, eh? Like it's a little bit like this, right? Or like this
Mm.
asking for confirmation or like a reaction. It's like, eh? And just everyone does it automatically. So you kind of pick it up and you just can't help it. And it's just, yeah, all of a sudden there.
Nice. Yeah, so I ask a couple of questions to audience, and when I know that you like yesterday before the recording, and I got a couple of interesting questions. One is from at Genrop. What is the one thing that you miss the most about Germany that you can find abroad?
I think funny because I usually always ask that question too, but I don't really think much about what I miss the most. Apart from family and friends, which is normal, I do miss really good bread. So that I actually went out to buy these pumpernickel ones and brought it back here. Yeah, because I will never be able to not eat bread, even though I know it's not good to eat too much of it. But yeah, I literally go into the supermarket, and the way how I choose bread is I take them in my hand and weigh. Like if it's heavy, I consider it more bread than
Hmm.
anything. If it's really light for me, it's more like toast, and toast I don't really consider bread. So yeah, that's something I definitely bring over.
That was a very German response.
Yeah, very much so.
And the second one that I received is from Lisa Sail. Uh, what is the most surprising thing about your personality be- now, between now and when you arrive to New Zealand?
The changes, you mean?
Mm.
Oh, I think the way I see myself and the way I worked on myself, and that you actually can look back and remember how you felt when you first arrived or how you felt when you were still back home, and sometimes how insecure, and then now feel so much more stable. You've built like a whole new life on your own, and you realized you can do it. You can go through shit, and you can have challenges, and you feel definitely heartbroken and homesick and lonely at times. That's definitely going to happen. But you manage, and you realize that even though I'm really close with my family and I love them to bits, but I have been here sometimes through COVID also. I haven't seen them for 3.5 years. If you would have asked me years ago if that would be something I could picture myself doing, no way. And now being actually stable, having my own life here, and like making this big group of friends, and being comfortable to have my own podcast, and just feel so much more like I got to know myself, and I'm more okay with who I am. Not saying that I'm like able to see every bit of it. Like people tell me now, like, oh, you're so brave going overseas. And this is something I'm not really seeing this way, because once you did it yourself, you are not feeling super proud of yourself. But I guess just that you are so much more okay with who you are. At least I've learned so much about myself and work a lot on myself over here. And I noticed last time I went back for Christmas to see my family, I realized I really love the person I am here in New Zealand. Still love the person I am over there, but it's just the people who are there are all part of my childhood or my school time and all of this. So I'm sometimes a little bit different. Not much, but you know how you sometimes jump back into old
Mm.
patterns. So I really like the person I became here. So that's something I found really interesting to see. Yeah.
Lovely. So before we wrap up, you just drop it again, conveniently, the podcast, but I would like to give you the space to share anything that you were working on. If it's the podcast. If not, it's something else, something else. But basically, where can my listeners find you, reach you out, find a little bit more on what you're working on?
Yeah, so thank you so much that you give me that space. And yeah, you can definitely find my podcast, which I'm mostly working on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, just really wherever you have your podcasts. And also on Instagram under Hannah Worldwide and Friends, because I created my own podcast, my own Instagram ages ago, which was Hannah Worldwide, just because I love traveling. And then I just realized that I interview people who are like minded and share similar experience and whatever. So I just called it And Friends. So what I would like to see is if someone wants to be interviewed by me or wants to share their story with my audience as well, then just hit me up. I love to connect, and also like-minded people, other people. I like to, see different perspectives. So just whoever wants to share their story or connect with me, I'm more than happy to, yeah, have some messages and do an interview. That would be really cool.
Perfect. Like for the audience, as always, the links to Hannah's Instagram, but also podcast in all platforms will be in the description of the episode. So go and check it out. So I would say that we close the episode with something fun. I asked you to came up or thinking a bit of an unexpected funny story or even embarrassing that you have from New Zealand. And we will close the episode with that.
Right. Yeah, I actually thought about it and I was like, funny. Either I'm not funny or nothing funny ever happens to me. But what I found interesting and looking back also a little bit funny is that when I first came, everyone was like, oh, because I came when I was single. So everyone was like, oh, maybe you meet a nice Maori guy or like a Kiwi, and I ended up actually dating someone from Taiwan. So I I found that really interesting because here are so many different cultures, and I never thought I would go to New Zealand to end up dating someone from Taiwan. So that's always interesting. But yeah, I'm really, yeah, curious, and so far I haven't dated anyone from New Zealand, so it's still kind of a funny thing for me.
I mean, for me, it doesn't feel weird. I'm living in Italy. I'm from Barcelona. My girlfriend is German, so I'm kind of
Hmm.
used to that kind of things. But,
Yeah, you understand.
yes, absolutely. Cool. Then Hannah, it has been amazing. Thank you so much for your time and for explaining
Yeah.
your story and your experiences living in New Zealand. So for everyone listening, don't forget to subscribe, rate, share this episode, and also check Hannah's podcast and also give some love to Hannah.
Yay.
Uh, until
Yeah,
then,
thanks.
yeah,
Thank you so
tienes
much
el
for
qué?
having me.
My
Thank you.
pleasure. Until then, keep exploring, stay curious, and see you in the next episode of Expat Experts.